I used to speak to a group of law enforcement. They were taking a law enforcement course at Seattle. I think it was just Seattle University. Is that the one in Broadway? Yeah. And so at the end of every semester, I would do kind of like a Q&A thing for that class.
And what was your, why did you do that?
Human trafficking.
Oh, gotcha. So we will get there.
Yeah, it was, and so she did have it like a question, kind of. She knew the whole story. She's a forensics. Oh gosh, what was it? Obsidian. Forensics analyst.
Oh, interesting.
And that specialized in particularly human trafficking.
Wow.
Which was something that I was. That has impacted my life on a very large scale.
That's good to know before we start.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start off a little different, Emily.
Okay.
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Are we starting?
Yes.
Okay.
Tell me about some of the most proudest moments in your life.
Proudest? Yes. Oh my God, hands down, my daughter. Hands down. Oh gosh, I'll even cry talking about it now. And she's like, I'm so proud of her. Every day. I mean, I remember when I heard her heart beating, and I knew I was gonna be a single mom, and I was 9 weeks pregnant, and 9 weeks, and this is just confirming the pregnancy and all that. And I heard the heartbeat. I heard her heart beating, and I was already like so proud of her.
Yeah.
Because she made it through 9 weeks.
Yeah. One of the most beautiful sounds I've ever heard in my life were the first cries of my first daughter when she came out. I was like, what? It blew my mind.
I knew that for the rest of my life, all I wanted to do was make sure that she is safe.
Yeah.
And I still do make sure that she is safe to this day. She's 15.
You have a teenager.
Yeah, I'm a teenager, but I'm still very, very much, I call her my sweet darling daughter, and I'm very, very much proud of her. And
I love it.
Even though I'm not raising her, she still respects me as her mother authority, and actually I think this dynamic actually works better for us. She just recently got diagnosed with ADD, and I don't want to sugarcoat the fact that I'm in this situation where I'm absolutely in no shape to raise a child.
Yet.
Yeah.
That's a very important piece of yet.
Yeah. And at this moment, I'm not. But I'm honest with her. I've been honest with her. I was honest with her that her dad has 4 other kids by 4 different women, and so I've been honest with her that the fact that I had a rough, traumatic childhood, and she knows I've had a hard life, but because of it, I know that there's a fine line between overexposure and even over sheltering. There's a fine line between shelter and exposure in general, and
as parents, we're always kind of navigating that space.
I try to,
for sure.
It's a tightrope, and I try not to expose too much.
Right. Well, what's appropriate, right? What is appropriate for the age?
I'm not perfect. I have definitely gone over that edge a couple times.
Cool. Well, no one's perfect. Well, Emily, tell me about yourself a little bit. In the beginnings, where were you born and raised?
I was born in Seattle, or North Seattle, I'm sorry, at Stevens Memorial Hospital before it became Edmonds Swedish.
And who raised you?
What's that?
Who raised you?
My mom, and I had an older sister and a younger brother.
Gotcha.
And then later on, she ended up marrying my soccer coach, who had 2 children, 2 daughters and 2 sons.
Oh, wow.
So I called it the fucked up Mexican Brady Bunch.
Okay.
Because we moved in with them and that was a bad judgment call on her part.
How many kids were in there?
So altogether, there was, his oldest was in juvenile, and so that put it down to 6. but he came back shortly afterwards and shared the downstairs main closet. This is annoying me. There's like, I don't know if it's pounding on it, but it sounds like somebody's knocking on it, like under my feet.
Oh yeah, there's probably like.
Is it the tide?
Yeah, there's.
It's bound.
Some
I
waves.
thought.
Some
I
waves
thought it
came
might be
in.
that. So I'm just gonna kind of shift around where
That's
it's
fine.
not doing that. Okay.
And this part's concrete. If you want to stand up there,
Sure.
I can adjust.
Why not?
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
I really like the water though. It just calms me down.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
another beautiful thing is the first beach in La Push. You know, I was just having this conversation with somebody that, because I don't want to be out here being, you know, a thief or anything like that. And I'm trying my hardest to do like the honest thing and ask people if they can help me instead of taking from people, you know, because I know a lot of people do that. And so there's definitely a lot of, what do you call it, stigmas.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so people will shoo me off and almost like a broom to a mouse, you know. And, get out of here, you rodent, before they even get a chance. And I wish that they knew the suffering that goes on, because I could probably, if anybody took a poll, there's, I would say a good 99% of people out here have been through a lot of childhood trauma, neglect, or like, you know, the foster system's broken, and there's a lot of broken family stuff going on, especially in the 90s. So when I grew up, so I'm in my 40s, and in the 90s.
Oh yeah, go for it. Yeah, appreciate it.
You're not bothering, is it?
Yeah, we'll I can pause and. That's okay. I'm sorry. Well, let's touch on your childhood. So you moved in with this family.
Right. So before that, my dad was he went to prison when I was 3.5, and just to quickly, because you know, daddy issues stuff, just to quickly go through the dad thing from beginning to end, just to kind of get that part out of the way. My dad went to prison when I was 3.5 for, it was called attempted rape on 2 elderly women. He had entered their house. Well, anyway, my mom felt like he was too dangerous for us to be around him, and even when he got out of prison, she chose to have a restraining order against him and say, well, when you're 18 and I'm not raising you anymore, you can choose for yourself. But until then, you're in my roof, my rules. And no, you cannot have anything to do with him. And we respected that. Well, you know, me being the one who wants to push everything and figure shit out on my own, You're good. Figuring it out on my own, I got in contact with him. Let's say this is about 10 years ago, when I was 33 years old, and we developed. You know, I showed. You know, I feel like everybody deserves a chance. You know, and I know that he had a hard life, and you know, this is before I became. This is when my daughter was she's 15 now, so it's like 10 years ago. So she's around 5 when we really started developing a relationship. He was helping me through a really hard breakup, where he was just somebody that I could talk to, and learning him, and he seemed to really care about me, and I really didn't have that. I felt like I needed that in my life anyway. It was nice to have a dad, even though I still didn't know what that was like as a young child, to grow up and have a dad. He was there, and it really felt it really felt like he was my dad.
Probably for the first time.
So over the course of 10 years, we shared a lot of really great experiences and conversations, and you couldn't answer the phone no matter what. I mean, I drank a lot. I used to drink a lot. And then I started using meth, and meth got me off of the alcohol. And then, and that was like 3 years ago anyway. But Anyway, last summer, it was really hot out, and he was hanging out with us, and he's also unhomed as well, but he didn't have to be. It's just that he had to move out of the apartment that he had, and I worked at Sherry's. I was the night server for 3 years, and he would come in and just watch me work, and he seemed to be admire like the way I did my job, and I liked that. But anyway, last summer he was hanging out with us, and I woke up and he was like, I woke up from a nap and he was like touching me like inappropriately. So that is the end of the dad story. And I had told him that everybody who ever called me or whoever referred to themselves as like a father figure or wanted me to call them daddy or anything, every single one of them hurt me to a very traumatic level. So anyway, I'm gonna try to get my composure again because
you don't have to, it's okay. It's totally okay.
Yeah, so when the daddy issue the daddy issues. I was molested as an adult woman. But at least not from him as a child, but maybe. So the soccer coach.
I'm so sorry. That is
Yeah.
like horrific. I'm so sorry.
You would think like being sexualized and sexual trauma is like second nature to me. But I studied a lot and I wanted to be a part of the solution. So I was on The View, like Danny had mentioned, and
My hope is you never saw him again or talked to him again.
My dad?
Yes, your dad.
I sent him a text. It took me a while to even. I called the police. I filed a report, and it hit me like really hard a couple of weeks later, and that it's hard for me to trust people. And I put a lot into developing that relationship. And so him doing that to me was it was worse than I think than a lot of the other like sexual trauma that I went through, just because I really loved him. I still do, but he can't be my life.
It's all fucked up and
it's like
mixed up and confusing, and
it's one of the two things that are like that. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
It's a fast track to never talking to me again. And that's one of the two things that you can do that to guarantee that we'll never talk again.
Yeah.
I can't even remember what the other one was, but he did that too. But I should have known. He called me sexy to my boyfriend, and and I told him to stop, and he tried to make excuses for himself, and so I didn't talk to him for a year as a punishment. And he was apologetic, and I believed him.
Well, it is not your fault in any way, shape, or form. Like, you could have never known. It is not your fault. The should-haves could really take a toll on us.
It made me question my own, did I do the right thing? I always felt like I was doing the right thing by giving him a chance. But it was at what cost?
Yeah, you didn't know. Yeah, so, oh, man.
Well, everybody warned me.
Well, it's like, it's your dad. Yeah, that's, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. If I didn't have to figure everything out on my own without just taking other people's word for it, But anyway, I guess that's just how I am. And People don't like it, but I'm like, I like your advice. I appreciate it. I'll take that all into consideration, but I'm going to do it the way my heart tells me to do it, and that's the way I'm always going to do things.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, even if it's got me human trafficked, I helped get that guy behind bars for 23 years because he hurt a lot of people.
I want to be cautious and tender around that.
Yeah.
Because you just told me a story that is incredibly traumatic.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave that up to you if you want to touch on that or not. And you just did a little bit.
I was severely human trafficked for 3.5 years. Like 7 days a week, 12-hour nights, or 7 nights a week, 12-hour nights, like really bad. It ended in an FBI sting. Somebody wrote a book about it, and that's why I went on The View, and that's why I was like, I mean, that was the leading trauma in my life up until recently. I thought that talking about it was like, but talking about it really kept me in it.
Re-traumatized you?
Oh yeah, all the time.
And so that's what I don't want to do.
Yeah. So I won't go into a lot of detail. My sister introduced me to him, and because of the trauma I had been through before that with my stepdad and his family.
Which you didn't touch on too much of, but I mean.
Yet.
Oh, you don't
I guess I'm kind of going backwards now from.
Which is totally fine, you know. But we'll just know that there was trauma in that family.
Yeah.
And was it sexual trauma, or just trauma? Trauma can take many forms.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And I didn't know how to deal with mine. I had a therapist for 10 years, and she helped me, I guess. I don't know. It was talk therapy. You get out of it what you put into it. So how does that make you feel? It makes me feel angry, I think. But so what worked for me, I guess, was because I didn't tell anybody.
Oh, wow.
For like a year. I told my best friend a year later, and she couldn't believe it. Like, I couldn't talk about it. It took me 6 months to even make eye contact with people. And there's a lot of things about that situation that really, really, really fucked me up. Which is why I didn't, you know, it's like a cult. Like, if you joined a cult, it's kind of similar to that. Like, people don't know why they did it, but they did it because I didn't feel relatable. I felt like I was damaged goods. People were, buying me. And I was in Las Vegas, and, a lot of people were buying me, and I couldn't trust anybody. I mean, these are the lawmakers, politicians, people
like
who...
You're saying they were all involved.
Yeah, they were all involved. Like, how do you trust the people who are...
making the laws.
Yeah. I'm sorry, police. They're just bankers. The people who are lining the pockets of the lawmakers. Like, I mean, I was like, I know I look like this now, but I was hot stuff back then. And so I saw there's, a lot of big spenders, and these were the people who could probably put a stop to this bipartisan issue of human trafficking. But they won't, because why would they? And, it's just their dirty little secrets where they just go to Las Vegas and their family thinks that they're there on a convention or whatever, and they're like, okay, honey, yep, I'll call you in the morning, and hang up and be like, here's your money, take off your clothes, So I always said the girls in this situation are getting it from every angle, because they're the ones being criminalized for it, because they get charged with prostitution, and then they got to go to jail, and they got a record, and then, their life isn't normal again. Plus, they're getting traumatized by the trafficker, who, if you don't make this quota, or if you talk to people you're not supposed to talk to, or follow every single instruction that the trafficker tells you to follow, then you're gonna face some pretty severe consequences, and like the form of like physical abuse, some sexual abuse, and humiliation, big time. Like he'd strip you naked and abuse you in front of his friends. Just humiliation, just a lot. So, I tried to do my best at not getting into those situations because I didn't want to go through that.
You were touching on, my sister introduced me to this person. Without going into detail, somehow you got coerced into this.
Yeah, it's a grooming process. I didn't it wasn't like, all right, I'm your pimp now. Call me daddy. My street name was Madonna. This tattoo said his name, and then it said Madonna, and I was his bitch. So it basically said I'm his bitch. I got that covered up 20 years ago, so it's been quite a while since then. But still, these are memories that when they come up, they are like it just happened. I remember them vividly. And so I took it into my own hands. I'm like, why? What was it that drew me to that? Why? So I don't do that again. And trauma bonding is what I came up with. I was like, Stockholm syndrome. That sounds so familiar because it's like, yeah, the captures are, they're going through something so traumatic that they're actually feeling like sorry for the person, the captors, or they're having feelings of, endearment toward their captors. Like a bank robbery in Stockholm, and so they named it after that bank robbery because they were defending the bank robbers, because the bank robbers let them go, A, and B, they felt sorry for them.
I listened to a podcast that pulled that apart pretty well.
Yeah.
Which was fascinating.
Yeah.
I don't remember the podcast, but
isn't it crazy?
I think they basically kind of debunked that whole thing.
Yeah.
But I think what you're trauma bonding sounds more
that's so okay.
accurate.
It seemed so it was too kind of flat. The Stockholm syndrome was too flat for me, so that actually led me to trauma bonding.
Gotcha,
and I was like, because Stockholm syndrome is something that a lot of people have heard about, but trauma bonding really isn't. But that's just something if you've been traumatized, you've heard of fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
And then some people even have heard of fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah.
Some people freeze, right? That was me when I was younger with my stepdad. I froze. I didn't know what to do. But they didn't really realize that freeze was a part of a trauma response. Fawn. So fight, flight, freeze, or fawn.
Right.
Fawn is a trauma response. The fawning is when you're, what can I do for you so you don't hurt me?
Doting on them.
Yeah.
Putting them on pedestal.
Yeah. Putting on, yes.
To protect yourself for safety.
For safety. It's so tricky, and it's so, you don't know you're doing that as a trauma response. I didn't know I was a people pleaser as a trauma response. I thought I was a people pleaser because I wanted people to think I was nice.
Yeah.
Or know that I was nice. And so I'd go out of my way to make them happy, even if I was putting myself in the back seat.
It's crazy what our brains do.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
It's crazy when you learn about it.
Yes.
And when you realize that you were doing it as a trauma response, how it changes everything. Yeah. So,
how did you get out?
The FBI. It was they were following us, or no, not following, wiretapping us for 6 months because he was trafficking minors. He trafficked my sister when she was 14. I was just barely out of being a minor. So I didn't fit the minor. I had the mindset of him. But age-wise, I wasn't. I was a soccer player. I was really good too. Like I went to Santa Clara University to be scouted. I was on the Olympic development. I made the team, but then I got, because one girl we didn't have a lot of money, so one girl whose family had a lot of money, she came in. She didn't really have to go to tryouts because her mom was like a newscast person, and so she came in and they're like, well, I'm here, I want to be on the team. And they're like, okay, who can we cut? And so I got cut, but I made the team. At least I made.
Yeah, be proud of that.
Yeah, and I was on the varsity team. I was a good soccer player, but then after the trauma started and I started like, kind of like rebelling and acting out, smoking cigarettes, and I was lucky I was on like 3 different soccer teams. Otherwise, I would have gotten into drugs way back then. I didn't actually get into drugs until like I was like 30 is when I started kind of really dabbling with the drugs. But I was fulfilling my addiction part of my brain elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, how 30s, for going through so much trauma, I'm like, how did you cope? Because I would have been
alcohol.
Like, oh, okay, a different drug.
I was drunk all the time.
Gotcha. Okay.
I was always drunk.
Illegal drugs.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Karaoke. Yeah, and justification, but so where was I? I was talking about the...
well, I asked you the question how you got out. And you
Oh,
said
how I got
FBI.
out. Okay, so the FBI, yeah. So they were wiretapping our phones for like 6 months, and he was trafficking underage girls, women. And he had trafficked almost every single woman that he had was underage when they got with him. And so, he hurt a lot of women. The one girl who they started the indictment on, she was 17 and a half, almost 18, and she got arrested in Las Vegas. I was personally not allowed in Las Vegas because for 6 months at the time, and I was getting ready to be able to go back, like maybe a couple weeks later. This was like December 2005. So, God, so much has happened since then. It's crazy. So when the FBI, I call it my rescue. I consider it my rescue. The FBI officer, up until recently, because I realized that they didn't have to arrest me as a co-conspirator. So they didn't have to do that.
It's just like trauma on trauma.
It's still, to this day, it affects me.
They arrested you.
Me and 4 other girls, women.
It's just so backwards to me.
My sister, she's getting through it. Like, she just had a daughter, and so she's doing a lot better than me. It's kind of like I worked in backwards, where I was doing really well. I went to school, like, after I got out. I just, like, I guess I just wanted to, like, prove that wasn't me, like, somehow. But, I have a lot of really crazy, unbelievable stories that go along with it, and it's like the stories are just insane. Like, I was in prison with little Kim, like little things like that. Like, along the way, there's a lot of really little stories that they're like, what the F? And I like, it's just, but they chose not to arrest also, I think, 5 other girls, 5 or 6 other girls. So they picked who they wanted to arrest, and then they just decided not to arrest the other women. And while I got some resources through probation, the judge, after we I cooperated immediately, because I was on the verge of either killing myself, being killed. Like, I wasn't gonna go home unless it was in a body bag.
Yeah, you're just done. Well, I mean, I guess there's an element of when this was it like a raid?
Yeah.
And were you like?
They planned a Christmas party.
But you had no idea what was happening.
No.
And so you were like, "What the fuck's happening?"
Yeah.
And then they're like, "FBI." Were you like, "Thank God"? I mean,
No,
not like
not at
later.
all.
Oh, I mean, you were being arrested, so of course not.
Well, yeah,
And scared and feared.
So being arrested is second nature. Like I mean,
Okay.
I've been arrested. So at first I was like, this is like, I was confused. But then when we were in the van with them, I was like, oh man, this is the FBI, you guys. I didn't know. Like so, I didn't even know what our charges were. I just knew that 2 days earlier I was in a hotel room, like I threw this plastic ashtray against the wall and I just started I still have scars on my arms and I was done. And then finally, I gave them my fake name, my alias, and they're like, what's your name? I was like, Amber. They're like, what's your name, Emily? I was like, Amber. They were like, Emily. And they said my last name. Your mom is this, your brother's this.
Oh, wow.
What's your name?
They knew all about you. Wow.
Yeah.
Was anyone go like, this is your chance to get out of here, we're going to help you, or?
No. They said, take responsibility for what you did. Plead guilty. Narc on him. And if you plead guilty and you narc on him, if you take responsibility, which is pleading guilty, take responsibility for being a part of it. Because if I do that, they have a bigger chance of getting him. He got sentenced to 23 years. I got sentenced to 8 years of probation, which I got out after 4, because the judge really recognized us as victims after everything was said and done, and instead of arrested us, nevertheless they still arrested us. I still had to do probation. I still had to adhere to all these things, which is fine. They called me the poster child because I was already used to following rules and instructions, because with the fear of a punishment, it was easy for me to not, like I said, I did everything backwards. I started falling off. Being a single mom was really hard. She has ADHD, which I wish I'd known that sooner. Maybe I would have approached things a little differently, but I felt like we were fighting all the time and I couldn't do anything about it. And so I'm not blaming her. I'm saying I wasn't strong enough and to deal with all that, just everything. It just came crashing down. And
I mean, what I hear is, Emily, you didn't get or have the support you needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that's what I hear. And it's to do by yourself without that, tough, really hard.
It was really hard. I mean, I have friends that, I started sounding like a broken record to a lot of people, so I just stopped talking to them instead of talking.
I guess I mean support, if your daughter had ADHD, it would have been awesome to take her to get tested, assessed, and then teachers could adapt and you could have more information so you can adapt, and therapy and psychologists and there's different support groups or whatever.
Yeah. That would have been that would have helped. That would have changed a lot of things, I suppose. Yeah, of course. No, I just think, actually, I didn't even have really, as a parent, a lot of support from her third grade teacher. Said that I should teach a parenting class because she liked me as a parent. I think when it comes to parenting, I'm unconventional. I'm honest with her to a degree of, I don't keep her so sheltered from the way this world is. And obviously I've got these issues, but you know what? She is a kid that anybody's lucky to have her as a friend. She is a very loyal friend. She is so good. And I'm glad when she started taking her meds for the ADHD, she just started really everything changed. Everything started becoming enjoyable, and I'm so happy for her. Her grades, where she was forgetting to, she'd do her homework and forget to turn it in. It was like things like that. And she got her grades started getting up, and she started like really feeling value in her life, and I'm really happy about that. That was actually just recently. But as far as it comes, like there is no better parent for her than me, and there is no better child for me than her.
Yeah, you sound like a proud mom. Yeah. Where is she?
Who? Grace is at my mom's.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, and
Like in Seattle?
Yeah.
Do you see her?
Yeah. So we spent an hour on the phone the other night, which we never do because she's a teenager.
Yes, that's right.
But she tells me everything.
Oh.
Like, you know, when you tell your kids, you're like, if you tell me first, I can do something. If you do something wrong, if something happens,
Mm-hmm.
and you tell me,
Yeah.
I can help you through it.
Yes. That's what every parent wants. Just like, put it on the table. Tell me anything and everything.
She tells me. She tells me.
I love it.
She talks to me about the things that we never talk to our parents about. Like boys, and she skipped school class, and she told me about it, and I was like, well, you told me about it, so you're not in trouble.
Yeah.
Thanks for telling me.
Yeah.
I told you I wasn't going to get you in trouble if you tell me first.
Yeah.
And she never did. She didn't do it again after that. She was like a good kid.
Oh, I love it.
I don't know how I got lucky, because you know the cards are stacked against her. She's mixed, you know, so she's living with grandma, and she's a girl. I keep telling people, you guys forget, women were the last demographic to get the rights to vote. Like, we really had it hard for a long. There's still some work that needs to be done, like, you know, in the field of women and respect for women. But
Emily, let's talk about your current situation here.
Mm-hmm.
Have you, I don't know how to ask this, like, have you been unhoused before?
No. Actually, I met the person I'm with. We were neighbors at an apartment, and now this is kind of when I started dabbling in meth too. And this is in Bellingham, and I was working at Olive Garden, and everything was going really well for me. I had my own car, and then it was time for him to re-sign his lease. And when he responded, they said, oh, sorry, we have somebody else who's renting out your apartment. You waited too long. And so I was like, okay, well, I don't want... I mean, ironically, I didn't want him to have to sleep in his car.
Gotcha.
So I was like, stay with me. And so after a couple of weeks of him being there, they sent me a comply or vacate that he couldn't stay with me. And I was like, well... we're together, and I was like, okay, just put him on the lease then. You guys offered him a lease renewal, just put him on the lease. They said, no, you get you get funds from Opportunity Council, and they're not going to help you pay your rent if you have somebody else living there. And I was like, well, let me worry about that.
Yeah.
So, oh, sorry.
Okay.
So they offer. Sorry, I get
totally
fidgety.
I worry about. I go, oh, the audio is going to be messed up,
probably.
and I want to. It's very important that.
Yeah.
We hear your voice clear.
Sure.
Because you deserve that.
Okay. Is it? Oh, good. Okay. So, perfect. And so then they gave me a comply or vacate for his cat and charged me $750 for the cat plus $250 a week since the cat was staying with me. And even though everybody there had pets, they didn't offer me a chance to have the pet. They just fined me, and then they put that on my my bill. So right there, I was like $1,500 behind. And then my sister, she knows a lot about like renters' rights and stuff, and so she wrote something out for me that sounded really official, really official. And so they realized that I was working with somebody this is my oldest sister. My mom, actually, that was the one who she didn't grow up with me because my mom was 16. And she had, I don't want to say gave her up for adoption, but she released her to a family who adopted her. And she found us when my daughter was about 1, and she and I are just,
oh, wow.
We were very close.
Wow.
Yeah. She's going to help save me here soon, I hope. But, so then they realized that they were working with somebody who knew something, and they couldn't, like, just run me over.
Mm-hmm.
And so they offered me to break my lease, a settlement to break my lease.
Without any like fun penalties or anything like that?
No, they offered me money. They offered me a settlement to break my lease.
Oh, a settlement. That's what you said. Oh, gotcha.
So they offered, and then I was like, well, if I leave sooner, will you give me more? Because I was like trying to just be an asshole back. Because I felt like it was just all of what was going on was just so messed up, and they were just taking advantage of me. And they said, yeah, if you leave on whatever the first of the month instead of the next month, then you can, we'll give you an extra $250. So I got a moving truck, and then it turned out, and Grace was with my mom most weekends anyway. So I got a moving truck, and I had to do it all on my own.
Was Grace living with you at this time?
No, so she was living with me, but at this time she was with my mom for about a month at this point.
Okay.
And then before that, it was like on the weekends, because I was increasingly she and I were fighting a lot.
Oh, you said
yes,
you mentioned that.
And it was really hard for me. Like, I think I went about 4 months with saying, you can't talk to me like that. This conversation's over, because I just wasn't gonna let her bully me.
You're trying to set some boundaries. Right?
Yeah, I had to set boundaries, and she was stubborn. So it took a really long time for her to realize what was going on.
Gotcha. So
we didn't talk.
You guys had to shift stuff around, but you got this moving truck and.
Yeah. So no, I got the moving truck. I filled it up by myself. I had one person help me with the couch for maybe an hour and a half, but other than that, it was just me by myself. I went and got a storage. I've never really done all of this stuff, and so it was all new to me. I didn't engage my time well, which is like common for me. I'm not good with time, gauging time at all. So I asked them, can I please have until 5 or have until later on the day that I was supposed to be out there. I was supposed to be out there, turn the keys in by 5. Mm-hmm. In the law, I think it says midnight, but they were making me turn it in by 5, and I was like, I need until the end of the day. They're like, well, you won't get the extra money, it's your choice. And I didn't put two and two together that I could have just forfeited the $250 and just stayed.
Yeah. Well, you're thinking, and you're not thinking straight, I'll say that. In that position, you're probably under stress, a lot of stress.
Yeah, and I'm thinking I have to move out. In my mind, that's going on. I didn't think clearly about that. And then I was like, why didn't I just... I'm an idiot. So, anyway, I turned the keys in by 5. I had left so much stuff in the apartment because I only had enough to fit one moving truck, or one truck full of stuff, and took it to the storage. Or no, I didn't even take it to the storage at that point. So then I realized I forgot the whole box of Grace's baby pictures. And all of the pictures that I have up until, probably 6, when she let me take pictures of her.
Yeah.
And then, so I was like, she left the window open all the time. She had the bedroom. It was a 1-bedroom. I slept in the couch. She slept in the bedroom. And so I climbed into the bedroom because I knew it was going to be unlocked. And I went and got the baby pictures, and they called me and said, or she texted me and said something like, we have you on camera going back in the apartment. I was like, I'm so sorry. I forgot the baby pictures, Grace's baby pictures. You would have done the same thing too. You're a mom. You would have done the same thing too. Please forgive me. And she said, thanks for admitting it, Clint. I was like, they called the police on me, tried to get me a burglary charge. Wow. And tried to get me trespassed, and I was nothing but nice to them. Like, I never gave them any reason to be that way toward me. They didn't like the guy that I was with, and I never heard or saw any interaction with them to give me any reason why, because I always thought he was like such a great guy, but maybe it's because he had a lot of friends come over. I don't know. Anyway, so they put a stop payment on the check the next day.
Yeah, damn. So you didn't get any money, or just that $250?
No, I had cashed out the $3,250,
Gotcha.
and then my bank account went in arrears $3,250. I went and picked up the actual money the next day and then I got it, thank goodness, before them, because I was able to get the money.
Yeah.
But then I was negative, so then I lost my bank account and nobody will let me bank with them. So I had that bank account for a long time, and that was like a slow progress to chip away. We were living in my car and then an RV. We stayed in Bremerton with his friends for a while, but they wanted us to be a couples with them.
Yeah.
And so we were like, not like that, you know.
But it's like a couch surf, RV car, slowly kind of.
Yeah, slowly, like then it starts going down to, it was couch surfing, RV car. We got towed, police impound, and so we got it out for $10. Went to court, got it out for $10. They towed it onto their property. We needed a new battery, and that was why it was there in the first place. So we were going to go get a new battery, and he ended up, but we needed money, and they were going to give us a deal at one of the auto parts stores. And so he went to Town and Country to go steal something so that we could make money off of it, because nobody gives us money, you know. It's like, and we couldn't get money that fast anyway, so we got to do what we got to do sometimes, right?
You're like in survival.
Yeah, in survival mode, right? Not trying to hurt anybody. Well, he got caught by the security, and then he went and swung his bag, which had like a T-shirt in it. And they were like, "Oh, you assaulted me," and that gave them permission to just proceed to, like, they kicked his butt. They kicked his ass. Oh, wow. They fucked him up. Oh, wow. And then the Shoreline police weren't sympathetic to him at all. Like, I mean, to the point where they put his knee on his stomach, and I don't want to get too personal, but they really fucked him up. Then they put him in jail under the investigation of robbery, because at that point, because it was a fight, it was physical. It goes from
assault or something,
theft to robbery, but then under investigation, then they held him for 3 days without bail, but that became 6 days, because that doesn't start until Tuesday, because Monday was a holiday, and by the time he got out, because we didn't bring the battery back, and I didn't have anything. I didn't even know where he was for 2 days.
He just disappeared.
Yeah. And so I was like freaking out, sleeping in the car by myself on Aurora, you know, and they came and towed it on Sunday, so that was 5 days before he got bail. And by the time he got out, the tow bill was $1,000, yes. And so we lost our shelter. Yeah. Just like that. And, you know, we're like, that's our shelter. Like, if you had parked it 10 feet that way, we wouldn't have done that. And I was like, well, if you had parked it 10 feet that way, you wouldn't have done that. But you could have just, but they would, you know, nobody sees us as struggling people. Nobody sees us as struggling people or people who have, like, you know, mental illnesses, or people who have, you know, PTSD. And I can understand, and maybe it's a good thing that they don't understand it, because that means that they didn't have to go through some of the things that a lot of us have had to go through or something. But so they can't necessarily empathize, but they could have sympathy. Some people, and some people do, like people like you, with kindness in their hearts and their eyes, and they just know that there's like something more to this than just a couple of tents on the street and some trash in the yard, you know, or whatever. It's like,
this kind of draws me, you're kind of already answering it, but Emily, as we wrap up, is there anything you'd want the people of Seattle to know?
That there's people, if you even, my guess, because I take the time to learn, to meet a lot of people. I bounce around a lot. I really actually enjoy meeting these people, because there's like artists, musicians, there's brilliant like writers, like the artists of the city. These are people who play instruments just beautifully. People who may have lost their way, but I bet if you like just took a few minutes, tried to take a few minutes and take some time First of all, we'll be surprised. Like, you really want to talk to us? Okay, cool. But, like, we're cool people. We're nice. We're like, rad, actually. Most of us. Some people are kind of, like, still rad. I'll just say it. I'm not going to, actually, you know what, I'm not going to say anyway. Some people are less social, and that's okay, because you're going to find that anywhere you go. But, you know, if you make eye contact with somebody, and they make eye contact with you back, maybe you say hi and ask them their name, and you'll learn something. We all have something to teach, right? And I'd love to learn from people too, but to not turn a blind eye and be like, you're just like society's trash, you street rat. But I'd like more people. I'd like less people to be like that. Even if you didn't talk to us, like, or whatever, if you didn't feel comfortable or if you were scared, which is nothing to be scared of. You're actually probably safer with us around, honestly. If anything happened to any of anybody, I would definitely step in. But yeah, just see if you can learn something from one of us, and I bet you'll change your tune.
There's always something to learn from anybody.
Everybody has something special.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
It's good to hear your voice.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. I've been wanting to, like, talk about these things for a while. Because it just brings me to tears sometimes, like how poorly people feel like it's okay to treat us. Like, I mean, this morning I was bawling because I was so hungry, and I just was like asking. I'd rather ask people panhandle than steal or prostitute. That's one thing I'm not going to do again. But
you open for a hug?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hang in there. Hang in there.
Thanks.
Gosh. Yeah, I appreciate it.